President Donald Trump appeared at a White House event with coal industry representatives on February 11th, where observers noted difficulties in his speech delivery. The event, which coincided with Thomas Edison's birthday, featured the president discussing energy policy and economic matters. Communications experts have observed instances of verbal pauses and irregular speech patterns during the address. The president's recent public appearances have drawn attention from political analysts monitoring his communication style. These observations come at a time when the administration faces scrutiny over its policy direction and economic messaging. The coal miners event represented one of several recent appearances where Trump has focused on energy sector issues. Political commentators across the spectrum have analyzed the president's speaking patterns, with some suggesting they reflect the pressures of office, while others have raised questions about his overall effectiveness in communicating policy objectives. The White House has not issued any official statement addressing concerns about the president's public speaking performance. This development occurs against a backdrop of broader political challenges facing the administration. Polling data indicates shifting public opinion on several key issues, while congressional Republicans have shown signs of independent action on certain policy matters. The convergence of these factors has created what analysts describe as a critical period for the Trump presidency, with implications for both domestic policy implementation and political coalition management. During the coal industry event, President Trump devoted significant attention to energy prices and economic conditions. He claimed that gasoline prices in Iowa had fallen to $1.85 per gallon in some locations, stating that prices ranged between $1.91 and $1.99 in various areas. The president contrasted these figures with what he described as previous higher prices, citing $3.50 to $4.50 per gallon rates from a year and a half earlier. However, current data from petroleum industry sources indicates that gasoline prices in Iowa average approximately $2.50 to $2.57 per gallon, suggesting a discrepancy between the president's stated figures and verified market information. Independent fact-checkers have noted this pattern in previous presidential statements regarding consumer prices. The president's focus on energy costs appears to reflect a broader administration strategy linking energy policy to economic relief for consumers. Trump has argued that reducing energy expenses will create downward pressure on prices across the economy. Economists have offered varied assessments of this approach, with some questioning whether energy cost reductions alone can significantly impact overall inflation rates. The administration has simultaneously moved to cancel or reduce certain clean energy initiatives, a decision that has generated discussion about the nation's long-term energy portfolio. Industry analysts note potential tensions between the administration's fossil fuel emphasis and evolving market trends toward renewable energy sources, which have seen increased private sector investment. The president acknowledged Thomas Edison's birthday during the February 11th event, making extended remarks about the inventor's contributions to electrical lighting technology. Trump referred to Edison as the man who lit the world and engaged in conversational asides with attendees about the historical figure's legacy. The prepared remarks included commentary on Edison's achievements, though the president appeared to deviate from scripted content at various points. He made references to light bulbs and their appearance, stopping himself before completing certain comparisons, noting he would get in hot water for such comments. Political observers have noted that White House staff may have structured the event to allow the president more informal speaking opportunities, possibly as a strategy to demonstrate engagement with working-class constituencies. The coal industry setting provided a backdrop aligned with the administration's energy policy priorities. Critics have suggested that such events may be calibrated to avoid unscripted question-and-answer sessions, though White House officials have not confirmed this characterization. The president did not take questions from reporters following the event, departing immediately after his prepared remarks concluded. This approach to public appearances has become more common in recent weeks, according to journalists covering the White House. Press access has been limited at certain events, raising questions among media organizations about transparency and the traditional flow of information from the executive branch to the public. President Trump highlighted stock market gains during his remarks, noting that the Dow Jones Industrial Average had surpassed 50,000 points. He recalled previous predictions that such a milestone might not be achieved until the end of a presidential term, suggesting that the market's performance exceeded expectations. During this portion of his speech, the president appeared to misspeak regarding timeframes, initially referring to a fourth term before correcting to fourth year. Such verbal slips have been documented throughout his public speaking history, though their frequency has become a topic of discussion among political analysts. The emphasis on stock market performance as an economic indicator has drawn commentary from economists who note that equity market gains primarily benefit investors and those with retirement accounts, representing a narrower segment of the population than overall employment or wage statistics would capture. Wealth distribution data shows that stock ownership remains concentrated among higher-income households. Critics of the administration's economic messaging argue that highlighting stock market performance may not resonate with working-class Americans facing everyday cost pressures. The disconnect between financial market success and household economic sentiment has been documented in recent consumer confidence surveys. Supporters counter that stock market strength reflects business confidence and can have broader economic benefits through pension funds and retirement accounts. The debate over which economic metrics best represent national prosperity continues to divide policy experts and political strategists. A significant development occurred late on February 10th, when 3 House Republicans voted with Democrats on a procedural measure related to tariff policy. Representatives Thomas Massie, Kevin Kiley, and Don Bacon broke with their party leadership to allow floor votes on resolutions that would challenge presidential tariff authority. This procedural vote represents a notable fracture in Republican unity on what has been a signature Trump administration policy. Tariffs have served as a primary tool for the president in pursuing trade negotiations and addressing what he characterizes as unfair international competition. The president has implemented tariffs on various countries and product categories, often announcing such measures via social media. The congressional action does not immediately eliminate existing tariffs, but creates a mechanism for lawmakers to formally vote on their continuation or removal. This places House Republicans in a politically challenging position, requiring them to either support tariffs that may be unpopular in their districts or oppose a central presidential initiative. Political analysts suggest this development indicates weakening presidential influence over congressional Republicans. Some representatives from districts experiencing economic impacts from tariffs may feel pressure to demonstrate independence from White House policy. Manufacturing job losses and business relocations have been reported in various regions since tariff implementation began. The vote also undermines House Speaker Mike Johnson's ability to prevent such measures from reaching the floor, suggesting internal party divisions over legislative priorities and the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches. The congressional tariff votes create 2 distinct political scenarios for Republican lawmakers. In the first, representatives may vote to constrain or eliminate tariffs, delivering a direct rebuke to presidential policy and demonstrating that Trump's influence over his party has limits. Such votes would provide concrete evidence of intra-party disagreement on economic strategy. In the second scenario, Republicans may vote to support existing tariffs despite constituent concerns, making themselves vulnerable to campaign attacks highlighting economic costs attributed to these policies. Consumer advocacy groups have estimated that tariffs add thousands of dollars to average household expenses annually, though these figures remain contested by the administration. Democratic strategists view these votes as an opportunity to draw sharp contrasts heading into the next election cycle. campaign advertisements could focus on economic impacts in specific districts, personalizing what might otherwise remain an abstract policy debate. Republicans voting to support tariffs would need to defend the policy's benefits against criticism of its costs. Business organizations have expressed concerns about tariff impacts on supply chains and competitiveness. Some companies have announced relocations or reduced investment in response to trade policy uncertainty. Manufacturing sectors, particularly exposed to international supply chains, have reported disruptions. The political calculation for Republicans becomes increasingly complex as economic data evolves. If consumer prices moderate or economic growth accelerates, tariff supporters may claim vindication. Conversely, continued economic difficulties could intensify pressure on lawmakers to distance themselves from administration trade policy regardless of potential political consequences. The Bureau of Labor Statistics' standard February release of employment data has been delayed, according to reporting by news outlets. Typically, this release includes both the previous month's job numbers and revised figures for the entire preceding calendar year. The delayed data would cover January 2026 employment figures and revised 2025 statistics. As of February 10th, the official government statistics had not been published, an unusual timeline that has prompted questions about the delay's cause. Private sector estimates from employment firms have been released, but these lack the official status and comprehensive methodology of government data. The White House announced that the official data would be released on February 11, though no explanation for the delayed timeline was provided. Economic analysts note that such releases typically follow a consistent schedule, making deviations noteworthy. A White House communication issued on February 10th carried the headline, "Don't be a panickin," using non-standard language to preview economic data. The statement emphasized stock market performance and urged against premature concern about forthcoming economic statistics. The unusual phrasing drew attention from media observers and communications professionals. Critics suggested that the statement's tone might indicate anxiety about the data's content, though White House officials did not directly address such interpretations. The document emphasized positive economic indicators while acknowledging that additional information would soon become available. The intersection of delayed data release and unconventional messaging created a focal point for political and economic commentary.